All right. Good afternoon, everyone. The October 3rd, 2024 Decennial Committee meeting of the City Colleges of Chicago is now called to order. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the Chief Advisor please call the roll?
Chair Nukas. Vice Chair Hatch.
Here.
Secretary Davis.
Here.
Trustee Swanson.
Here.
Trustee Hightower.
Here.
Trustee Sanchez.
Here.
Trustee Ramirez. Here.
Let the record show that in accordance with the Illinois Public Community College Act and the Illinois Open Meetings Act, we have a quorum. So again, good afternoon all and welcome to the Decennial Committee meeting for October 3rd, 2024. First, I would like to call for approval of the agenda for today's meeting, which you should have a copy of.
Yes, everyone received a copy. You want to call a motion and a second?
Oh, right. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, no one signed up for public comment, so that we can go on with the rest of the agenda. If you don't know, I am Trustee Peggy Davis and the Secretary of the Chicago Community Colleges Board of Trustees, and I'll be chairing the Decennial Committee meeting. In the spring of 2022, Illinois governmental agencies were tasked with studying local efficiencies and reporting recommendations regarding efficiencies and increased accountability to the county board in which the governmental unit is located. As you know, City Colleges of Chicago is one of these agencies, and we formed the required committee. The Decennial Committee on Local Government Efficiency Act applies to local governments that levy taxes, but excludes municipalities and counties. The committee must meet at least 3 times and submit a written report within 18 months of its formation. The committee must be composed of, first, the elected or appointed members of the governing board of the governmental unit, Board of Trustees, at least 2 residents within the territory served by the governmental unit who are appointed by the chair of the governing board with the advice and consent of the governing board, and any chief executive officer or other officer of the governmental unit. So now I'd like to introduce the Decennial Committee members. They are myself, Peggy Davis, Trustee Katya Nuquez, Chair of the Chicago Community Colleges Board of Trustees, Trustee Marshall Hatch, who is the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Darlene Hightower on the Board of Trustees, Trustee Oscar Sanchez from our Board of Trustees, Trustee Elizabeth Swanson on the Chicago City Colleges Board of Trustees, and Student Trustee David Ramirez on the Board of Trustees. Executive Committee members include Juan Salgado, who's the Chancellor, Mark Potter, Provost Potter, CFO Maribel Rodriguez, our General Counsel Carla Gowan, an additional appointee, Erica Jones, Compliance Officer and Director of Risk Management. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah. And then we have 2 proposed residents to the Decennial Committee, Toy Pearson and China Hampton. I am asking for a motion to make Toy Pearson and China Hampton official members of the Decennial Committee.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Chief Advisor, will you call the roll?
Chair Nukas. Vice Chair Hatch.
Approved.
Trustee Hightower.
Approved.
Trustee Sanchez.
Approved.
Trustee Swanson.
Approved.
Trustee Ramirez. Approved. Chancellor Salgado.
Approved.
Provost Potter.
Approved.
CFO Rodrigo.
Approve.
Counselor Goin.
Approved.
Compliance Officer Erica Jones.
Approved.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Toy Pearson and China Hampton are official members of the Decennial Committee. I'd like to welcome you from across the room to Toy Pearson and China Hampton. Thank you for providing this important service for us. So now I'll talk a little bit about the charge of the Decennial Committee. It is to study and report on local government efficiency. The committee's duties include studying the local government's governing statutes, ordinances, rules, and procedures, examining the local government's intergovernmental agreements and interrelationships with other local governments and the state, making recommendations for increased accountability and efficiency, and preparing a written report to be presented to the county board. Members of the Decennial Committee have received the act that is governing this body and the process, the Decennial Committee on Local Government Efficiency Act, and also the Chicago City College's resolution creating the Decennial Committee. Now I'm going to ask our General Counsel, Carla Gowan, to give us a little more context for the legal aspects of this act.
City Colleges of Chicago and local governmental units beginning October 3, 2024 and ending December 23, 2024, will inventory and review intergovernmental agreements and interrelationships with other governmental units to analyze, determine, and make recommendations for the purpose of gaining greater shared efficiencies with existing intergovernmental relationships and identifying new intergovernmental relationships. The potential approaches are academic, operational, and governance compliance.
Thank you, General Counsel Gowan. What we'll do in terms of the process is have a presentation from someone on our staff, someone appropriate on our staff, who will discuss how we're thinking about, when we say approaches, that sounds very formal, so I'm just going to say we're talking about the categories of our activities, so academic and operational and governance. And so someone from staff will talk about each of those potential approaches as the statute refers to them. And then at the end, we're going to select one or two of those to study for this particular decennial year. All right, so we'll start with Provost Potter.
Yes, Provost Potter, please.
Thank you, Trustee Davis. So I'm happy to bring forth some ideas and potential scope of where we do want to focus our where we might want to focus our attention in the area of academics. One of the I think real markers of efficiency and progress is when students can progress through their programs on time, so to speak, and without a lot of hiccups and barriers in front of them. Credit accumulation is that metric by which students will actually get to their certificates and their degrees. It is a fantastic thing when we can retain students from one semester to another, but in doing so, they need to be accumulating credit and really experiencing that momentum toward their degrees. And so with that in mind, my team and I have thought is that a possible focus could be on credit accumulation. Credit accumulation, when it is happening optimally, saves students time, because if they are needing to retake their classes, or if they are not finding the classes that they need to take when they need to take them, they take more time in order to complete. And credit accumulation also saves students money because they are able to, again, accumulate those credits toward their degree and ideally not have to retake classes. And so it's both a matter of time and money, I would say, for our students who are tuition payers, but also for our taxpayers as well. We do have a number of initiatives underway already that we could highlight and focus on. For example, strategic scheduling. We have put in place some measures, but we want to do more to make sure that we are offering the classes that students need when they need them and in the modality that they need them, so that they can put together a schedule for themselves that will allow for that credit accumulation. We also are launching an initiative around course success rates. We have students who withdraw from their classes in many cases, and students also who get to the end of their class but then don't pass the class with an A, B, or C, and they have to, as a consequence, retake that class. And so we're pulling together an initiative to improve our rates in course success and make sure that students are passing their classes in higher numbers and at higher rates. And so together with those initiatives, we could certainly have a focus on credit accumulation, which I do think gets at the heart of efficiency in academics. I do want to just share that my team and I have surfaced some other ideas for the committee's consideration, then I can just mention those briefly. They are a little more targeted in nature. So one of them would be our processes to enroll students in non-credit or continuing education courses. Right now, that's a very manual process that involves students, in many cases, filling out a form on the web, or it could even be a paper form, and then a staff member going in and manually entering that enrollment into our system. That is something that has had our attention and that we are identifying solutions for. We could also take a component of what I shared at the top around credit accumulation and focus in a more targeted way also. For example, with the scheduling piece of that credit accumulation, we do spend a lot of human hours in trying to arrive at that optimal schedule, and we are very interested in finding the right systems and solutions that might mean bringing machine learning or artificial intelligence or something like that to the process of strategic scheduling and finding that right set of times and days and modalities for students to enroll in. So those are the proposals from the academic side.
Thank you, Provost Potter. Do any members of the committee have questions for the provost?
Thank you. I'm China Hampton. I am the Equity Director for Climate Jobs Illinois with the Illinois AFL-CIO. Provost Potter, I have a question. You mentioned just kind of helping to alleviate some of those barriers. What's going to be put in place to help alleviate those students' barriers, or what's already in place currently?
There is a lot that is in place currently. I would point to the student services side of the house that are available to students, all students, and that help them stay in class, persist through the semester, get to the end of the semester, and have a chance at passing their classes and then moving on in their credit programs. I would just list mental health services at all of our colleges. In addition, virtual mental health services available in nights and weekends. We have tutoring available for all of our students. We have access centers that support students with disabilities, ensure that they have an equal chance at succeeding in their classes. We are also undertaking on the academic side an initiative to promote more universal design for learning in our instruction so that all students will benefit, not only students with disabilities. And then I would mention tutoring as well, where we have tutoring at all of our colleges across multiple different disciplines, as well as an enterprise-wide, district-wide after-hours tutoring initiative for students. So there are a number of both academic and non-academic, for lack of a better term, supports that we do bring to students.
Hello. And just to follow up, so yeah, I think that just kind of thinking from that perspective where it's the socioeconomic, because what we do have, and just kind of from the workforce development side, is people have different barriers that are not sometimes educationally related. And so some of those barriers may be access to childcare, which may be an issue, transportation, just kind of making it a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and you've put your finger on some additional supports that we have also in your response right there. So the list doesn't end where I spoke, but point well taken. Thank you.
Any other questions before we proceed? Okay, what we'll do is hear from our Chief Financial Officer to talk about recommendations from the operational approach. And then from General Counsel Gowan, who will talk about the governance approach, and then we'll vote on recommendations, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. All right. Chief Financial Officer Rodriguez, please proceed.
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Davis. Okay, so in the finance arena, we're always looking at operational efficiencies. I know since I've got here, we've done a lot of work to streamline processes. Because they do have a big impact on our operations, day-to-day operations from staff. We've done a lot of work already on the procurement side as well as accounts payable. So I'm happy for the work that we've done there. In terms of identifying 2 additional opportunities where we can continue to achieve additional efficiencies, the 2 recommendations that I have is 1, looking at consortium agreements, which is compile and summarize all non-personnel CCC spend by category. Analyze the spend data to try to leverage industry resources to identify opportunities so we can source, spend, and yield tremendous savings for the district. So that's one. The second item that I have listed here is purchase order approval process, which is to review the current PO approval process to identify potential opportunities to either eliminate or reduce the number of steps required for vendor payments, which will help alleviate internal processing burdens and improve timeliness of vendor payments that will ultimately result in better vendor relationships for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO Rodriguez. I have a question. Do you have a priority among the 2 that you have just reviewed?
Yes, actually, I would. My recommendation is to review the PO approval process. Thank you.
I think that's the case for every organization.
Great.
Thank you. Any
Sure.
other questions? All right, now we'll hear from General Counsel Gowan with an overview of the governance approach and potential
Thank you.
topics.
Given the numerous laws and rules that applies to City Colleges of Chicago, I think it's appropriate to review an array of these policies that cover and rules that cover various categories. My recommendation is that we review the board policies and procedures, the Open Meetings Act, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and the Freedom of Information Act. I think reviewing these rules and statutes will help us to identify whether or not the district is in compliance and following their guidelines and requirements.
So it's just the one recommendation then?
Yes, the recommendation is to review all 4.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other questions for our general counsel?
Just one quick one. I heard you say board policy and procedures, FOIA, Open Meetings Act, and I missed the last one.
Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA. You're welcome.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, is there any discussion among the approaches and priorities that have been shared by staff, by the committee members? Any
Yes.
discussion? Yeah.
So under the academic one, we asked the, my mic is on. Under the academic category, we asked the other areas for their priority one. What would be yours?
So my recommendation would be to identify credit accumulation broadly as the priority.
You said credit accumulation? Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. If not, then we can proceed with the agreement among the priorities that have been discussed. First of all, I'm recommending 2, just because the amount of time that we have between now and the end of the year to complete this. It doesn't preclude us from doing these projects in any event, but in terms of our report to the county, it seems to me that 2 is enough. Is there any disagreement among the committee members? All right. Then, does any committee member want to recommend which ones we select? I have a recommendation, but I'd like to hear if committee members do. What were you saying down there? I'm eager for your... Okay. Okay. Then, my recommendations, because purchase order approval can be such a thorn in our efficiency, I'm recommending that one. I'm also recommending credit accumulation broadly, because I think that's important to the communities we serve. I do believe that our general counsel on an ongoing basis is going to continue to review our compliance with all of the acts that apply to us. She's serious about that, and I know that she will continue to do that. So that's my recommendation to the members of the committee. I see some head nods.
Can we just do a vote on those 2 and then
Yes.
make it official?
Okay, well then, may I have a vote to approve, for purposes of the Decennial Committee review and report, the approach for credit accumulation broadly, the academic approach, and the operational approach to review our purchase order approval process.
Move to approve, Chair.
Is there a second? Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, everyone. If there's no further discussion, we can
We can move
adjourn.
on to the, no. we
Oh,
have
I'm
to
sorry.
announce the next committee meetings.
Too quick. I was too quick, sorry. Yes, the next Decennial Committee meeting date is the date of our next board, our next Board of Trustees meeting, which is,
November 7th, 2024 at Truman College. The final one will be December 5th, 2024 at Olive Harvey College. And at that particular one, we'll go over the final report.
I want to, again, before we adjourn, express our thanks to everyone who joined the committee and is helping us with this project, particularly our non-staff members of the committee. We really appreciate your time. If there is no further discussion or business, we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No nays. Thank you very much.